Good morning, y'all. I'm going to run through the week four picks with very little trepidation here. Us Bulldogs lost another one over the last week over across the state, and whatever it's worth, I want to give my condolences to the Stark family. It's kind of sad, but back on the gridiron, uh, we started with St. Louis. San Francisco going to St. Louis, and I picked St. Louis to win, not knowing the line because they, of course, didn't have it out yet. That game was straight up, so I picked St. Louis to win, and I don't know why a lot of other people did, and we were all wrong. Later on today, Indy goes to Jacksonville and gets over a touchdown. And last week, I tried to give the worst team clearly, and now by far in the league, some credit as they are a professional football team. But if anything's going for them to get inside of this spread, it's that it's a division game. So if they lay an egg now, what little confidence anyone has in Jacksonville will be shot. I got one chance here to show that they're willing to get up for something. They're offering free beer, 2 free beers if you show up to the game. And I've either had 2 beers for $4, but the tickets were $35, or I had 2 beers for $12 and the tickets were $12. Different sport, but still. So, and they're doing that to avoid blackout. They're going to infomercials or to another game. That's how bad it is down there in the Eastern Florida area. So, 7.5 points, I'll say again. And last week, by the by, I was 6-8-1. San Diego and Tennessee, I pretty much folded on, said it would be a 3-point game, and it was. So that one I'll just call a tie. But they found a way to get inside 7 points, or almost 8. (28-21). Now, Chicago at Detroit. Detroit's a 3.5-point favorite. I'm going to pick them just to win. I don't necessarily have to go score here, because they're definitely going to cover 3.5. Multiple C's here. Just Kansas City at home to take on the Giants team that's just floundering. Those parentheses. Was just floundering, but and we've seen the Giants this way. They're always like that. For the most part, I'm kind of stuttering because I'm watching this Arizona play here. It's 55-34, Arizona State. I don't want to talk about what happened versus Wisconsin. He may have had a knee down, but he kind of clearly didn't give himself up. But he kind of did. But okay, that one was on the refs. Don't take it away from the kids because they played their heart out against Wisconsin and they won that game. If it's on some Hail Mary shit, then so be it. But those kids won, and now they're 21 here and 2 yards away. I didn't call timeout. All right. The Giants have always seemed to start slow. Maybe even during the Coughlin era, we could say always. And he finds a way to the promised land. He finds a way to the postseason. In this league, this business, you got to get to the playoffs. You don't get to the playoffs, you're not going to be around long. So he finds a way to do that. And for whatever injuries there are, it's not a bad Giants team. I don't know what it is. They got Brandon Jacobs back. I think they'd be able to run the ball. You got Eli Manning, a proven leader, two-time Super Bowl winner. They've got the parts. It's got to be hard effort. And Antrell Roll brought it up after the 38 nothing whitewash. Who had that one by the Carolina Panthers? So after all that, including 38 nothing, Arizona State scored. It is 61-34, extra point pending. So with all that, can you go to Kansas City, who's experiencing a rebirth of their own? I don't know, whatever that's worth. I will say this though: last year, Kansas City beat New Orleans in overtime, and they won on a field goal in overtime, to end the game. They hadn't led at any point through that game. So the one of the two wins they got, they barely got. That's how bad that was. So, now 3-0, Alex Smith. I won't say jaded so much as faded, for this young guy. Running game of Jamal Charles, you've got Bo, and you've got these pieces here. So, and the defense is rounded into shape, and in a weak division, relatively, and we're at the point now where this Denver and Kansas City thing, which is always a big rivalry, is definitely a push now. Never know what's going to happen in that one, and either one, in Denver or Kansas City. Back to the Giants again. We'll try the Giants for the third time here. Can they overcome all that and go into this Kansas City game and win? And you know what? Hell, maybe not even win, because maybe Kansas City is that good. Maybe just show up and play a game. 38 nothing. You didn't even want to play. You didn't. That's terrible. 38 nothing. Somehow, the worst team on the college Saturday will find a way to score 3, 9, 11, 12 points in a 80-12 pace, and they'll still get 12 a field goal. Shit. So, will they? Yeah, why not? I'll take Kansas City to cover. They'll lose, but they'll cover 4.5. Oh, well, I should write that the other way, I would imagine. Oh, I really don't think you see this either. All right, little bit. All right. Baltimore at Buffalo. Buffalo's 3.5-point underdog. I'm going to take Buffalo to just to win here. They'll win, which again means they'll cover 3.5. Bit more game, and then there's questions in Baltimore. There's questions everywhere, but still, that it was just too big of a deal. You can't blow up a Super Bowl team that badly and expect to come back. Some was through retirement and trade and whatever, and it was not only the blowing up of the team, for lack of a better term. It's that they really didn't get too much in April in the draft. So all the people out there that are critics of Joe Flacco may be more so. Now they're doing all right, but then again, that division is kind of up for grabs. Buffalo, however, isn't in their division, and they've got their own fight in the East, with Miami and New England. So Buffalo really needs this game to keep pace with them. And yes, even the Jets. They win. They cover 3.5. They win. USC is struggling here to the 10 to the 5. He is in. Well, they're saying that, but the ball came out over the line. Even so, it's 62 to 40. It's like a bad basketball game. All right, the game of the week may be Seattle at Houston. Try to tell my overnight bosses that Seattle isn't a great road team, but when you think about it, who is? And football may be the one game. It is the one game that makes road wins road wins are so important. Baseball, Yanks play the O's 19 times, 10 there, 9 there. You're going to win at least one, and you're going to be competitive. But there, they shuffle the schedule well enough that we've got these two teams that are maybe outside lane picks for Super Bowls in their respective conferences. Seattle made, of course, the best team in the league. No disrespect, there's still a question with Seattle and San Francisco, Seattle and Green Bay. So, they and if you had to pick, you would lean towards maybe San Francisco or Green Bay. So they're kind of the outside in the NFC, and Houston kind of is too. There's Denver and New England. And in both conferences, there's really a need for another team to step up, and there's a few of them up there. Chicago is definitely one of them. Houston, Buffalo, Kansas City. These are teams that can, and they are striking 3-0. Most of them are striking now, I think they've all won in their divisions too. So these wins are important, and now they go on the road here, which they do have a losing record under Carroll. Just 3-5 last year, which is basically a wash. They were undefeated at home, which erased a lot of that. So everything's fine. You can take 3-5 and still represent and host a playoff game in the first week. It's when you start to lose at home, and we got a great crowd and whatever, but when you lose at home, the road losses will start to show up more. Can they come down here to Houston, where they're just as proud as the Seattle team, and get the win? They're 2.5-point favorite, Seattle is, so you think so. I mean, if they're that bad on the road, how are they a 2.5-point favorite here? It's probably because a lot of people are idiots. I'm just going to leave that one as it is. I'm cool with that one. If I had to, I guess I kind of do have to pick sports there. Chicago, Detroit, I'll try this because a guy at work asked me what I thought the OU Notre Dame score would be about 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon before it started. I said 41-21. If Oklahoma establishes the run, is what I told him. I didn't have any idea it would be the defense that got him out there. Establish the run so much that this Notre Dame team, as opposed to Te'o's team or other ones, wouldn't be able to keep up. It turned out that turnovers on Notre Dame's part had a lot more to do with it, but they still ran the ball effectively. How backbreaking is it to get 9 yards on 2nd and 8? It's backbreaking. Those type of runs, maybe not show up and maybe get diluted with a negative run, but those runs were so big. So, Chicago and Detroit, I'm going to say they win. I went 24 points against Cincinnati, 31 against Minnesota, and 40 against Pittsburgh. I mean, the odds say you've got to go down from there, right? So And plus, it's a division game, and they got Calvin Johnson, so you got to go down from there. But I think Chicago finds a way to put 27 on the board. In Detroit, turnovers. And maybe not even turnovers so much as penalties. I'm going to put this one on Sue, see if Sue can act an ass again. At Baltimore and Buffalo, this AFC beginning of the fall, I don't know how the weather is. That's always a factor. Not so much in Detroit in the Dome. But I say Buffalo wins 19-17. Seattle wins a weird one, 24-23. Yeah, India Jacksonville. Oh, got that one down. Don't need to do that. Oh my God. Pittsburgh and Minnesota. This is the London game, and we're trying to get the blokes across the pond to love the gridiron, as they call it. Us sending two 0-3 teams over there isn't, making ourselves welcome there. So now both teams will get a bye week after this. When you go overseas to play, you take that next week off. It's kind of a weird thing. The time and the flying, that's got to be a lot for you. So you go out there, you do London, you play the game, you come home, you take that next week off. So Chicago and Tampa Bay last year or 2 years ago, after the game, you get that week off. Not so much of a good thing, definitely, for one of these teams. It's going to be an absolute Band-Aid puller for one of these teams, whoever loses. And I really don't care who wins this game or who loses, because, of course, Chicago's beating both of them. So the loser is in real deep shit. I mean, waist deep in excrement. It'll be 0-4 going into the bye week. And then you're going to come out super nervous and jittery 2 weeks from now. And, God helps them, whoever on their schedule, if they're even half as hungry as they'll be. If you mess with the like a 1-4, 2-3 team, God help you. This game, you can throw all of the stuff out with it being played in London. Adrian Peterson has a real chance here to maybe show out. I tell you, Ben and the crew, they look great. I mean, they were down 24-3 against Chicago and came back with 20 in a row. But they gave up 24 and then they gave up another 14 afterwards. So, turnovers, especially versus a team with somewhat of a run. Gives Minnesota the win. The battle for the Buckeye State gives Cincinnati a 4-point favorite when they go take on the Browns. Not only is this a division game, but this is an intra-state division game. I don't get much crazier than that. That's your Giants and Jets, Dolphins, Jaguars, California teams, 49ers versus the Chargers or Raiders, something like that. Well, it's more like Jacksonville and Miami, because they're both in the AFC. It's not because they're in the same division. Cleveland resurrected Brian Hoyer. Anything can happen. Cincinnati, great in the jungle, but on the road, and especially against a hungry Cleveland team, these are the beginning of these backbreaker games. Cleveland loses this, goes out, with the same boat as Minnesota or Pittsburgh, pretty much. Cincinnati really can't slip up here, especially again against the interstate, interdivision opponent. Super can't mess up here. AJ Green says they shouldn't and they don't have to with a great presence, but a person's a receiver, but it's the lack of the running game that means you go to Green, you go to Green, you go to Green, and then something can happen. As Peanut Tillman. Cleveland wins. Cleveland rocks. Arizona goes to Tampa Bay, where they're a 2.5-point favorite against whoever the quarterback is for the Buccaneers. Glennon, I believe, but you still get your field goal for being at home against Arizona. That should seem good enough. But then, these are two of the most kind of polarizing or crazier teams. Anything can happen when you mess with Arizona or Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay is more of a Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing. You never know what you're going to get out of them. If they're great, they're great. If they're not, they're really not. But at home, you should be able to take care of business. They even do a little bit better than 2.5 here. $24-17, and probably the best of the most scoring games. Now, and probably another one of the maybe games of the week because of record, but one of the more interesting games would be the Jets going to Tennessee, take on the Titans. Riding pretty high here, Jake Locker is coming to his own. He's got the team, got the running game. Fairly unknown, but great receivers. Unknown that they don't get talked about with the other ones, but they handle their business. And a defense that is stout and willing to rise to the occasion as they have a winning record. Versus the Jets team who apparently didn't know, hey, they're that football team I'm talking about. Are you going to show up? We're 5 or 6 games off a butt fumble here. For whatever it's worth, and however they've done it, the Jets are 2-1. So let's give them that. But let's also give them a test. Go to Tennessee and take on a team that's basically shadowing your season. Riding high, maybe a bit under the radar. They got a 3.5-point gig. They're a 3.5-point favorite, Tennessee is. So that's not really bulletin board material because Tennessee's got the record this year to back that up. But can the Jets go in there and do that? They do. We've got to start, jumping on the bandwagon per se and jumping off, more jumping off of the criticizing the Jets. More so than maybe jumping on their bandwagon, but a lot of the negativity and the stuff you hear in the media will have to stop. Tennessee at home, just a bit too tough. Jets cover, Titans win. I guess we're moving toward the afternoon games here with Washington going out to the West Coast to take on the Raiders, and what could be kind of a trap game. Now, Terrell Pryor was out after he took a nap after a play last week. I joke, and terrible though they are, he was out. Nobody ran and did any concussion tests on him. They basically just picked the nigga up and put him on the sidelines. Called him out, so he obviously had something wrong then and still now. Not so much as a precaution. If he could play, he'd play. That's kind of tough because Terrell Pryor is just that kind of fit for Oakland. Instead of that, and don't want to knock Palmer and the other guys, but he's that kind of run pass quarterback. And he's more pass, definitely, and he can, but he can ease up everything with the run. Of course, this is all what Robert Griffin III and the Redskins want to be doing. Their lack, to me, seems to be at the receiver position. You've got to be able to catch those passes downfield. That'll open up the run. When you don't open up the run, then the pass won't work from the beginning. But all that to say about Oakland and not having Terrell Pryor is they're going to have to go back to the other guy. I can't remember who it was. Chicago played him in the preseason. Matt Flynn. He is that quarterback. The step back, 5-step drop, check down, and throw it to somebody. Whereas Terrell Pryor, this is the point I was trying to make, can check down. He can also make the throws that you might not expect him to make, but he doesn't have to check all the way down. He can run it, and he will if he sees it. Don't have that element in there. You've got a different mindset with the receivers so far as blocking, of course, on the offensive line. All that's not a good mix. With Terrell Pryor, the offensive line can ease a little bit. They know they have a guy that can get to the flat and get positive yardage, which will keep defensives honest if you stay on schedule as far as down the distance. Matt Flynn, as far as I heard, now I heard the game and saw the highlights, but they didn't show it, so Matt Flynn wasn't that guy. I believe it was a pick six in that game. Now, I do believe Pryor's out. If Pryor's out, Washington wins. (27-17). Dallas goes to San Diego in another kind of trap game. Though San Diego's coming on, they're a 2.5-point underdog against this Dallas team. Dallas goes out there, lays an egg. We're back to trashing Dallas. And there's no real upside for the Cowboys winning this game. You go in there and you win. Hey, it was the Chargers. You're supposed to beat this team. They lay the egg, 24-20. Philly goes into Denver. I believe the biggest spread of the week at a 12, basically, point underdog in Denver. Now, we give them 3 points for being the home team. We give them a couple points for altitude. We give them Peyton Manning. There's a few points there. Bit more sounder team, though they've both had their problems off the field in this last off season. And give the edge, of course, to Denver because they ain't out yelling nigger or killing dogs. So whatever. Even all of that doesn't quite add up to 12 for me. And it's no disrespect that they are a 12-point underdog because we just don't know. And you throw in Philadelphia's new coach who's trying to work one system, and the players have shown that they can do it for one half of one game, the first game, and they couldn't do it after that. So I, can respect 12 points, and Philly pretty much has to. I think somehow they stay inside, stay making the game. Now, if you were doing it for money, somehow Denver may find a way in the fourth quarter to put two touchdowns out there and make it 12 points. But just for shiggles that we're doing here, I don't think so. At 34-23, they cover 11 and a half points, and everything's fine. Sunday night in the heavyweight knockout, this is the kind of uh, antithesis, or well, not the difference than Seattle Houston, but it's kind of the same tilt. Another pair of teams that have their problems. New England's had its problems. Atlanta isn't as crisp as it was in years past. Like the Giants, they get over it. These teams, these four teams are perennial Super Bowl playoff teams, and mentioned the Super Bowl conversations. For the problems these two are having, Seattle is all right. Like we said, you win at home. If you go undefeated at home, never mind your road record so much as it is in 1-7. If you're 3-5 on the road, that's 11-5. You're definitely in. And these two teams have problems, and one of them, their problems are going to be exploited here. Now, White and the other, Roddy White, I can't remember the other guy. I'm so damn tired. You know, they've had injury talk, but it looks like they're playing. And New England's got this new deck of players, and Danny Woodhead has kind of risen to the top. He was the, seventh or eighth receiver. He had yards and touchdowns and stuff, but there were way more people to throw it to. And now he's that guy. It's like Belichick raises these guys, and people come and grab them up, and they're all over the league now. Because when you can't run the ball effectively, I don't know, be it because you're an AFC team and AFC teams just, don't really run the rock like that as far as versus the NFC or whatever it is, that flat route that, started with Welker and the other guys, Julian, and whatever Julian's last name is, and Danny Woodhead, being able to do that is just as good as a run. It's a forward pass for the most part, 6 or 7 yards, again, keeps defenses honest. So when you can't or don't want to run, you got to have that slot receiver to be able to do that and to get that 8 yards on 3rd and 7 when you aren't ahead of schedule or even on schedule. So they're two, perennial teams, but with a lot to show from both of them. Atlanta's at home. I don't know what that does besides give them that field goal. I'm going to take New England here. Brady over Matt Ryan is the edge. Weird score in this one because Atlanta ended up going for 2 and missing it or getting the safety or something, so they won't get the regular numbers and see the other ones. Monday night and another great game. I'll probably get some popcorn for this game Monday night. The Dolphins go to the Crescent City, take on the Saints. This one is big, of course, for Miami. There's no question about that because you're a decent team now, apparently, record-wise. Can you go to New Orleans? Can you go there and take on Drew Brees and those guys and Ivory and Beacham, who's back from his stint at San Diego when they stunk? Yeah, we don't bring that up. But he's back. And same old guys, and Peyton, and Sean Payton's back after the year suspension. You go there and handle business. I'd say if they could cover the 7-point spread, that's good enough. If they win, all the better. Monday night though just seems to have a way of those teams that are expected to win just putting on that clinic. So they they do put on the clinic. 31-13. Oh, and guess I should do the Thursday night game, but I won't do that. I'll just leave that out. I forgot it. So let's just stay up on the board, I guess, until Tuesday when the last finals in, and we'll get the records from there. Be a great day to get out to the fair. Maybe do that, or if you don't do the fair, maybe just go outside and take a walk a couple of blocks away. This will be the first walking day since like March. And I'm going to enjoy it. See you around.